All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Lead Talk. I'm your co-host, Lynn.
I'm your co-host, Kathleen.
And today we have a special guest with us. He is a 6th grade math teacher for Bangs ISD. He is a youth minister right now on top of all of that. And he is both our daughters, Lily and Emily's uncle, the one and only little boy, Jyles Wootton.
And unicycle enthusiast.
So thank you for coming today and doing this with us.
I'm glad y'all having me.
Yeah.
I love it.
How was the drive?
Great.
Good.
I killed so many bugs.
That's good.
So many.
What is it like as far as now? Because you just recently ventured into the world of youth ministry, right?
Yeah, I did. It is busy. It's just as fulfilling as you would imagine.
Yeah.
All the fulfillment that you probably got from your youth ministers, just times it by 10 and pouring into these kids. It's awesome.
It makes me want to go back to being in youth, having you as a youth minister.
Oh, being a youth kid? Oh,
yeah.
You wouldn't want that.
I mean, I had Jason, Cody Chumley.
Yeah.
There's so many others that I can't even name, but and then at camp, of course, each one of those counselors as your camper is pretty much like a youth minister to you for that week and then for the rest of your life. So speaking of camp, like that's where we met and we've known each other for how long now?
So we're pretty close in age. You're a little bit older than I. So you were in high school
just a wee bit.
When I was in middle school. So you were late camper when I was an early camper.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, we weren't friends at the time. I was like sixth grade or so, 7th grade or something.
That'd be weird.
That would be odd.
Bunch of red flags.
That'd be odd. But we'll have Social Security together. So that's not weird when you're that old. But
you'll probably retire before I do.
Then you became counselor.
Yeah.
And I was like middle-aged camper. And it probably wasn't until I was junior, senior in high school, 17, 18 years old, that we actually like knew each other's personality and thought, that's actually a cool guy. Like I knew who Lynn Ledford was, but
I was just
less
the guy
than
that starts the yes chant at camp.
Yes, that was probably around that time.
So I was going to say it was probably the summer before your senior year is when we went to Inks Lake and all that, right? If my timeline's correct.
I was in college at that point.
Were you? When it was you, me, and Caden?
It was Kathleen. You would know. You were in the picture at that time.
I was.
No, you were not. Y'all haven't even met yet.
Hang on.
It was September, my freshman year of college.
That was a little before.
It was a little
I got
before
lumped
you.
into this.
Yeah, just a little bit.
But it's pretty close.
Yeah. And so, we did camp. Your last 2 years as a camper, we started to get close.
Yeah.
And then, because I do remember you invited me to your graduation. And,
I think this is where it started. Do we have time to go back a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely.
We loved the same band.
Reliant K.
And every Thursday.
Every Thursday, that is true.
Camp, they would have what was called at camp Sadie Hawkins.
Mm-hmm.
And girls ask the guys, just like the song suggests. And I was a big fan of that band as well. And it's not super popular, but you knew it and I knew it.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
so we kind of connected at that. And so not every Thursday, but every Thursday while we were at camp, we would walk from
the Boys Hill
cabin, the Boys Hill, down to the cafeteria, and you would play that song sometimes on a speaker, sometimes on a big radio boombox on your shoulder, or just on our phones, whatever. But that's probably how it started.
Yeah, the Sadie Hawkins dance.
Sadie Hawkins.
Yeah, and I think, what was it, the year that we had the entire huge group come through?
Tons.
Yeah, it was like all the boys except for minus like 4. Yeah. We were all just walking up to Sadie Hawkins dance.
Yes.
As a huge group.
And dressed to the 9.
To the 9s.
Yeah.
Yep. So camp has been somewhere that we've been, I mean, I've done I think 15 years now. I think I'm at 15.
Yeah.
I lose track after I graduated. I was like, I just want to keep coming back.
Nobody can say 15 consecutive anymore because we all missed a COVID.
That is true.
Do we just not count that one?
No, since
nobody went.
We just the world didn't exist at that point.
Right.
It was an extended year.
Right. If you were there the year before and the year after, you can count it.
Yeah.
That's a good
The summer just didn't exist.
Yeah. But who was the only person to do a Devo the following year with the exact number of days that had been since we saw each other last?
That would be you.
Yep. Kept track of that.
You kept a tally mark on the wall?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
On my
Just like your
in the
prison
cave.
scenes.
In the prison
On your
cell.
cave. Yeah.
Yeah. COVID cave.
Yeah, the COVID cave.
Yeah.
Actually, it was funny because when COVID happened, you and I were with each other. Remember?
We were
Because
sitting.
we were sitting
in
in the living
Corpus
room.
Cove, right?
No, we were in Coppers Cove. Yeah, sitting on the couch.
Corpus
with-
Cove. I
we were
just combined two cities right there.
We
Yeah.
were
Coppers
sitting
Cove.
on the couch in the apartment that I lived in, or the house that I lived in
Yeah.
at the time, and you get a message that college has been delayed, or how would you?
Extended spring break.
Yeah,
we
extended
get
spring
an
break.
That was
extra
the first one.
1 week of spring
Yeah.
break, and that was gonna solve the world's problems.
Yeah,
that 1
Yeah,
week.
totally.
right then
one
and there.
one more week to push by.
And then what was it by that Friday? They were like, yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's
I
not
mean,
going to work.
within 48 hours later, it was like
Yeah.
2 weeks,
Yeah.
and then it quickly became like
Just-
if you want to go home and do online school, you can,
Right.
and then
So
it became you have to go home.
Yeah.
For
it
those
was
that
like,
don't
you're still
know-
enrolled.
For those that
Just-
don't know, Kathleen and Jyles both went to ASU. And
Not
we'll touch on
Arizona
that
State.
later. Yeah, not Arizona State, Angelo
Angelo
State
State.
University. But we'll touch on that later. How they know each other.
But I remember that conversation going, I got an email about, extended weeks, extended 2 weeks, whatever it was. And you hadn't got one yet. You're working
I
with,
was patiently waiting.
what school district were you working
Coppers
at?
Cove ISD.
Right. And you're at one of the elementaries, right?
Mhm.
And you said, we're going to be the last ones.
The
to-
absolute
to
last
cancel
ones
out.
to cancel.
If you remember growing up, like when you get a snow
The
day,
NBA
and
draft
on
of-
the,
of
on the bottom
delayed
on the screen,
schools.
yeah, you would be that last one for
Yeah.
sure. And you start with the C, like alphabetically. You should
Yeah.
be pretty quick, but you were always the last one to
Because
find
they
out
made
anything.
the decision at 6:59 right
Yeah.
before school's about to start.
And I found out probably 2 hours, 3 hours before you did, and everybody's posting about it. Angelo State people, like no matter what college you went to,
Yeah.
I saw people. If I had a friend going to that school, that was posting about their cancellation for COVID. Kids that were in high school were posting about it. I'm sure middle schools were like
yeah.
all canceling, and you were the last one to find.
Yeah.
You called it, and it was probably 2 hours later, and you jump up off the couch.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah. I was like,
you're so excited.
because I was like, I didn't
But I
want to
just
be the
remember
only
you
one not
complaining
allowed
about-
to have it.
Yeah, I remember you complaining about how you were going to be the last one to know.
Yeah,
You were
absolutely.
right. You were
You were-
justified.
You're just going to show up at work that day, and 1 minute before it would have been like, yeah, we're not coming.
Yeah, yeah, right.
That's actually happened before.
Don't show up.
I showed up on a holiday and pulled into the parking lot, and I was like, "Where is everybody?"
Do you
And I-
remember the holiday?
No, I don't. Not off the top of my head, but I remember I pulled in and
Was
I
it
was like,
Christmas? You had 2 weeks off before.
That's kinda
no,
hard
it
to
was
miss.
somewhere. But I pulled in the parking lot and I was like, "Where is everybody?" And I called my coworker that was the PE coach I was working with, and I was like, "What's going on? Is school canceled?" And he was like, "It's a holiday." And I was like, "Oh, I don't even keep up with those."
We read the
Probably
weekly
Labor
memos.
Day
Yeah.
or President's Day, one of those random.
No, in my luck, I probably would have put in for PTO.
On holiday.
Yeah.
And they accepted it. They took
Yeah.
it for
Yeah.
sure.
They're like, "Yeah, we'll gladly take
Yeah.
away a day."
that
So
you were
okay,
already getting paid for.
yeah. So there's no double pay. It's just I wasted a day.
yeah, yeah. I dodged your question earlier. You were asking about youth ministry, how it was going.
Yeah.
And if you think about school, let's consider it a babysitter during the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then when school's not in session, church becomes the babysitter
Yeah.
You had double
for a
duty.
lot of times. Yeah. And so you're working overtime for sure. So
Believe
the
it.
busyness of school kind of spikes. Think towards the end of school gets really busy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then summer comes and it plummets. Church is quite the opposite, right? You have
Yeah.
senior Sundays and you got events towards the end of school. But then once summer hits, your busyness spikes.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Yeah, because you got to get ready for camps, VBSs,
Yeah.
summer programs.
You're definitely doing 80-hour weeks. I would think.
Ministries that
Um,
you suddenly have more time for because
Yeah.
the job
'cause
schedule
they're not in
changes.
school. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And so I'm just living at a here. The teacher
All the
life,
time.
you go up and then Christmas break comes and then you get busier, then spring break comes. And there's some really
Right.
natural breaks that come into your school year, which it's pretty well designed. Despite what you might hear from most teachers, pretty well designed in my opinion. But during those breaks,
Depends on your district.
so
That
true.
is true.
So true. During those breaks, somebody's got to pick up the pace, and usually it's churches. So what do they do over Christmas break? A lot of churches go to an event or they go somewhere. Winterfest is a popular one.
Mm-hmm.
During spring break, you go on a hiking trip. During the summertime, you go to church camps. You have VBS. And so the busyness just stays. I won't say busyness, but the mental busyness, we'll call it that.
Yeah.
Planning things.
Mental load.
Yeah, it stays high.
Do you think it's kind of crazy that you're getting to experience the crazy life of youth minister or, you know, church volunteer,
Yeah.
that going to camp, we didn't see what all those guys had to go through, like Jason,
Yeah.
Austin, like you're getting to live it now.
It's so honoring to be even in the same sentence as those guys,
That-
because I
yeah.
look up to them.
Absolutely.
I'm growing up with them as my mentors. You want to be in those conversations. You want to be in those meetings about planning something or not. It is encouraging to know, like, if you're a teacher and a youth minister, the kids are students and youth kids. Like they're at everything that you're at too.
Right.
So if they can do it, you can definitely do it. I just got to know what I'm going to say before I show up. Right. I'm producing something. I'm preparing something. So yeah, there's a little bit more put into it, I guess. But they're doing it. They're showing up. So I should show up too.
Well, you said something that really stuck out to me just now. You said to be included in the same sentence, but you were technically included in the same sentence as them last summer with your first sermon at camp.
Yeah.
And so, like, how did that feel for you? I know you were calm, cool, and collected on the
Yeah.
outside, but like, how did that really
I
feel
was
for
not
you?
calm, cool, collected on the outside. Man, yeah, it is. I talked to my brother about it. My brother's just a year younger than I. And back in, you start prepping for camp around the new year.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of start thinking of themes that you would like to see the next year have, and sermon ideas and activity ideas and kind of just stuff like that. And so I was asked this past year to be on kind of a meeting board that helped with that helped prepare camp. And I've been thinking about that since, your first summer there.
Yeah.
And you say that you love the place, and maybe you just love it because you love tater tot casserole and chicken spaghetti. But every year you went
Or
there.
Hey Radio.
And Hey Radio, yeah, and the skits. But every year you go back and you see the same faces, and you want to be that, and you want to be just as involved as you can. And so to be that is super honoring. And so I was talking to Jackson, who he wasn't on it last year, but now this year is his first year on the camp.
That's awesome.
We'll call it a board. It's not really a board.
Friends at the round table.
Friends at the round table. It's a Zoom meeting. It's not a board of directors or anything like that.
Fair enough.
A once a month Zoom meeting. And so he was giving his wife a hard time because he's been, like me, aspiring to be a part of camp more than just being a counselor that shows up every year.
Right.
Since he, fell in love with it, probably around upper elementary. You just want to commit your life to it. And so he was giving Grace a hard time about, you inherited this blessing. I've had to work for it the last 15 years.
Yeah.
And you just marry in.
Yeah. Hey, she didn't buy it, or what is it? She didn't sell out. She bought in.
She didn't sell out. She bought it. She bought in.
She bought in.
So
That's awesome.
yeah,
So
we have a great time.
what kind of because you preached about Esther. And
I did.
Yes, and I've like held on to so much of that. Like every time I hear Esther,
Really?
I think of
Thank you.
Giles' sermon at
Yeah.
camp. And so, like, what kind of prep went into that as being a male and then preaching about one of the
preaching
most,
about Esther.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of VeggieTales. A lot of VeggieTales
Fair enough.
that I watched. It's incredible. That crossed my mind. You think of, there's probably 3 or 4 characters in the Bible that you think of, like a women's retreat. Who are they going to talk about?
Yeah.
You think of
Yeah.
Esther. You think of Ruth.
Mm-hmm.
I would say those are probably
Deborah.
one and 2 there. You think of the Marys,
Yeah.
Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene. You think of Deborah. And there's slim pickings, I should say, and kind of unfair to y'all to kind of relate to some characters. And now there's characteristics of Jesus y'all relate to, of course. But there's just not a whole lot that we have books named after, even.
Yeah. That's
And
true.
so to do Esther was honoring, humbling as well, just because you're right. You're a guy.
Yeah.
It's your first time, not your first time speaking, but your first sermon at the place you love. Like, I would be less nervous doing a Broadway musical, and I'm not musically inclined at all, than I would be preaching at Lake Cisco camp.
Yeah.
Just because they mean so much to me. And so you want to do it justice. And you're aware that when you're preaching on a woman of the Bible, she's highly relatable. And you want to do it right, especially to the girls that are there. and I got some great feedback. And so I'm not boasting that I did a great job, but
I will, dude. I started tearing up at the very end because I was just so proud.
Yeah.
I've known you for, going on 10 years. I've seen you grow. You're such an amazing person to have in our lives. But like to see you finally up on that stage, to me, that was like the Super Bowl of anything we could do involving camp. And to be like, I've done Devos, I've never done singing, will not do that.
Come on.
No, every year somebody, Lynn, do you want to lead singing tonight? Nope. But to
you
see
got Baby
you up
Shark
there,
this year.
to see you up there, like I've seen you preach before. I saw you preach at Cisco.
Yeah.
And like, even then I was proud, but I just could not keep myself in check. I could not take my eyes off of you. Like most sermons, I'm not gonna lie. Like everyone,
That's a problem a lot of people have.
Everyone preaching is gonna have a problem with this. But I kind of like look around at some point. I'm checking on the campers. I'm checking on like who adults showed up. I could not look away. I was just taking it all in. And like again, I was just so proud to see you because you looked so natural. It looks like something that should definitely continue on for years to come.
Gosh.
And now that you're a youth minister as well, like you not only got to do that, but you're more in a position, more inclined to be asked to do that again. Because everyone that's ever done it, everyone that's ever preached out at camp on the weeknights has been youth ministers or somebody involved
For sure.
in the camp.
There's been some bivocational guys that aren't in youth ministry or don't work in a church that consistently preach and do a good job, but they just don't get paid by the church.
Right.
They work for the church. They just weren't on staff. And so, to be a part of that group. And you're one of the faces, when you're doing public speaking, you look around and, you make eye contact and you look amongst the crowd, but you don't look at everyone.
Right.
Because it's discouraging to see somebody checked out.
Yeah.
And so you kind of just pick a face in that corner or a face in this one and spread it out. And you may look at only 7 people the whole time. And I can tell you're engaged up there, and you weren't looking at the birds flying around or the rat crawling on the wall or anything like that.
The fake owl that you swear
fake owl
moves.
that's for the bats
Squirrel
and the
going
birds.
up to the rafters.
And so you're obviously engaged, and so you were sitting over there pretty close to my family and the Jasons, and that was just a popular corner for me to go back to if I got tongue tied or just at a spot of the sermon that I wasn't super comfortable with, or maybe that was just hard to explain. That was where my eyes kind of naturally drifted to. Yeah. Just because I was comfortable with the people in that corner.
Again, it's something that I replay in my head. Like every time I hear
it's on
Esther.
YouTube.
It is it? I mean,
Jackson posted it at like Christmas time.
That's awesome.
It was taking up too much storage on my dad's phone. So he posted it on YouTube and deleted it from his phone.
I mean, I that's the thing about camp, like to see it's you come back from your generation. Jackson comes back from his generation. And so
we're in different generations.
That is true, yes. But at the same time, like you look at how many campers come back to be counselors. Yeah. And there's a huge gap between my generation and I think yours was the most recent. I don't think, now that I look back on it, I don't think there's really anybody. Well, Cordell. I take that back because Cordell is between us as well.
Cordell's between you and I.
Yeah.
He's a year older than I am.
Yeah,
right.
Isn't Cordell my age?
I believe so.
So that's
what
3
high
years.
school class are you?
2016.
He's 18, 17.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
He's a
pretty
little
much.
younger than me.
Pretty much.
That's
Yeah,
right.
he's in there. But like you look at that gap and like it was funny for the longest time. I would say like I was the last of the outlaws because like nobody came back from our group, and it was weird because at least at Cisco session,
tongue twister
there. There was the counselor and training program,
CITs.
Yeah, CITs, and there was like 8 of them, and then the following year there was none.
I think they did away with the program. I don't know if it was a chicken and egg situation, if there was no one signed up and that's why no one did it, or if it was we just did away with the program and so those people didn't come back. But there's I don't know, there's not a line that you draw, but once you become a camper into the counselor, everybody loves camp if you're there, especially for a number of years. Yeah. Not everybody can be a counselor.
That is very true.
Because then we got, 300 staff for like
for
the ratio there.
94 campers.
Campers. Yeah, the ratio there is just way too far off.
That's true.
And so you can't have everyone, but you would want 1 or 2 from kind of each generation, if you
So you're
will.
telling me I
Helps
made the
balance
cut.
it out.
You made the cut,
I made the cut.
and it wasn't by default.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
had to scratch your way in.
Yeah. I had to kick in some doors and had to
Had to take some chairs to
yeah,
the face.
yeah, I had to take some chairs and also I don't know where I was going with that one. I was going to say something about like being told by other camps like you're not allowed to go to your camp, but that's another subject.
Yeah,
Different
we
day.
don't
I feel ya.
we don't talk about that.
I feel you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot. So
Yeah.
then
Oh no.
so but no, like to see you up on that stage again, like I'll stick with Devos all day long or all night long, I should say, because like for me,
All night long.
it's pitch black.
I'm going to bed.
Yeah, that's true. It's pitch black. There's, not eyes on you. And then if, I don't know, like I feel like my Devos,
Pack
They're-
a punch.
they're hit or miss, let's be honest. But like at the same time, I'm like, well, at least everybody's going to bed, so they'll forget about it in the morning. The service is the focus of every single night, contributes to the theme of the week.
Yeah.
So at least, I'm like, well, they're more likely to remember Jyles than mine. So we're good there.
After you get done, you recognize this with Devos. When I do Devos, I do the same thing. When you get done, you remembered instantly everything that you planned on saying that you forgot to say.
Yes.
And it's so discouraging when your Devo was like 10 minutes long and then all the things you forgot to say,
Yeah.
it's like 12 minutes. You're like, I had a 22-minute lesson prepared. I just forgot to say half of it.
I forgot to pull out my
Right.
phone and look at my notes.
Right.
It's just ad-libbed all of
It
it.
just,
My note cards just slipped to the ground. Oh, okay.
for sure.
And it's pitch black down there, so you're not finding any of them.
No.
Yeah, notes are tough
Yeah.
down there unless you have a
Right.
flashlight of sorts.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
So then we talk about like how long I've known you. And then we move into transition of like COVID. We talked about how COVID really put a damper on y'all for school. Like what all did that do for you? Because you were what, a junior at the time?
By hours. It
By
was actually
hours.
my first first school year in
Right.
college. And I got my associate's degree, got a couple associate's degrees in high school. And so I only needed to be,
Just a couple?
I think,
Most people get one. Jyles has two.
I don't know if I have two or not.
I think you did.
I don't
Yeah, I don't keep track.
really remember. But I was only supposed to be at Angelo State for 2 years to get my teaching certification and then go into teaching. And year one ended with COVID. Year two started with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we transitioned to hybrid classes. And I was about to graduate with only having one true semester of college. And so sat down, mom and dad, had a conversation about, I love Angelo State. I love the people that I'm around. And I don't feel like I really got a great experience.
Yeah.
I didn't get to go on mission trip. I didn't get to go on
That's
retreats.
true.
I went on one retreat and I didn't really get to have the Rams for Christ experience I wanted, or
Right.
the Angelo State experience I wanted, or frankly, the education that I wanted either. Being online may be suitable for some and maybe not as suitable for others, but you didn't have any connections with your classmates hardly at all.
Well, and so many of those professors too, just since we were in the same kind of boat there, so many of those professors had never thought about doing online teaching either. So they were just like, what are we having to do?
I
Why
would
do we
be a
have to-"
terrible COVID
Some of the
teacher.
professors were like, I don't even want to be here. I don't want to do this online stuff. Like, this is ridiculous. They were like just as tapped out as we were because they were like, I want to be in person. I want to see my students. I was in organic chemistry at the time when that happened. And
Easy stuff.
yeah, exactly. Easy, super easy. But I can't think of his name right now, but the professor that's there, and I think he's still there teaching, he was like, I did not sign up to do chemistry.
That would be
this
Crable,
way.
right? Dr. Crable.
No, not Dr. Crable.
I'm sure our audience would know.
Oh gosh.
Somebody.
Yes, somebody in our Baxter would know.
Baxter would know.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was the younger guy that they hired after Atwater
Sweet.
left. Dr. Atwater
Sweet.
left. So,
You'll get there.
it started with an R.
Yeah.
Anyway, I know it starts with an R. I just can't. My brain is dead.
Yeah.
But yeah, no.
She's brain dead. You heard it here, folks. She's brain dead.
Literally. Yeah, no, them and a whole bunch of the English professors. I don't know if you had an English class at the time, but
I'm
a
sure
bunch
I
of them
did.
were just like, no,
Yeah.
this is ridiculous. And so the classes or the online classes would be like, I don't know about you, but for me, they were like 15, 20 minutes long, which was considerably shorter than being in the classroom, because so much of their classroom prep and so much of what they had done for years was students are going to interact. Students weren't interacting on the computer. Students were trying to figure out Zoom as much as they were. And
and then Zoom started charging to use the
get
platform.
premium.
Oh my gosh.
Well, and if you think about the uncertainty of that time, we were getting new news, it seemed like every hour on the hour.
Yes.
About
we were.
what the future is going to hold. We were thinking about different things than what our English assignment was. We had bigger fish to fry. And the professors probably felt the same way. And so mom and dad allowed me to come, or they allowed me. I would have came back anyways, but they supported me in the decision to come back for a third year and graduate the following May instead of that May.
Right.
And amazing, which in education, the last semester is student teaching anyways. So really I just gained one semester at Angelo State. Loved every second of it. Yeah. And it's nice to have the post-COVID perspective of not taking advantage of something. Had I not had that, I don't know if I would have kind of taken it in as I did. But now I look back and no regrets.
No regrets. Not a single one. No, so then we talk about that COVID time. And so I was in the process of leaving education, was leaving Coppers Cove ISD. And some stuff fell through over in Denton. And so I messaged you and I was like, I have nowhere to go. I don't know what to do.
Well, you came and visited a few weeks. Yeah. We tried to meet up once a month or so.
Yeah.
You came to Angelo, and as you were heading back home, I said, doors are always open.
Yeah.
And you took me up on it.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad you did.
So I ended up moving in with you and Marvin into the RV. So 3 guys.
300 square feet.
300 square feet, a dog.
2 dogs.
2 dogs. That's the second dog came later.
Much later.
But essentially 2 dogs in this, what was it, a 5th wheel, right?
There was so much hair.
Yeah.
To the point where we had to vacuum the ceiling.
Vacuum the ceiling.
Yeah. So, and with that, you invited me to the CCC, which is the Christian Campus Center,
Christian
correct?
Campus Center, yep.
And
that's where Rams for Christ meets.
Yeah, Rams for Christ. Shout out to Jerica.
Shout out Rams for Christ.
And shout out Rams for Christ and Doug. And so with that, you kept I don't want to say pestering me. You kept insisting that I come and try it out. And I was like...
No, I kept pushing you. Yeah. I kept being the annoying little brother.
Trying to push me out of my comfort zone when I'm like, I just got to I just reset life and I don't know what to do.
I was so pushy.
Yeah. And Jyles is like,
right?
come to this. We're doing Bible study or we're doing evening worship. And I'd be like, I'm not feeling it.
And I said, we have a free meal. And you said, shotgun.
And so I decided to go, got to meet everybody there. I mean, and essentially.
Yeah. So his first night there, probably, I don't know if it was your legit.
It was like their first or second. Like I had not been
there
something
long.
Like that.
Yeah.
Basically, as he was just showing up, I got to the point in my life where I was just like, all right, I had some stuff happen before college that kind of put me in a funk of like, church was weird for me. And everybody that I had grown up with going to church was gone off to college somewhere else. So I was like the last of my group here.
Yeah.
And maintaining the fort in a way. But at the same time, the church I grew up in didn't really have a college group at the time. So it just kind of fizzled out for me. And I was like, all right, God, I'm done doing it my way. Like, my way is not working, majorly not working.
For sure.
2020 was
typically how it goes.
Yeah, 2020 was a weird year for everybody. And I can say the same. So I was like, all right, we're done with this. It's a whole new semester. Everybody's coming back. Sure, we're all wearing masks, which was another like new reality to step into, but we were there. We could be there and be together. And I was like, all right, I'm done doing this my way. I'm getting connected somewhere. And I literally told God, so in my Trailblazer that I had at the time, when I parked in the CCC parking lot and found out like what time the worship was and everything, I literally in my driver's seat before I went through the front door, I looked up and I go, I'm not here to meet another guy. I was like, I'm done.
That's great.
Doing this. I was like, I'm doing this your way. I'm just here.
kidding.
I'm just here
And
to
God
connect.
said psych.
Yeah. Literally. I was like, I'm just here to connect with you. I'm here to develop healthy relationships, positive relationships, and like get something out of this. Cause it was my last year in college. That was my whole last year, senior year. Missed a credit that I absolutely had to have to graduate by the May before.
Thank the Lord for that credit. Do you remember what class it was?
Yes, it was Shakespeare as an English major.
Of all classes. Of all classes.
Yeah, it was the one that I absolutely had to have to graduate as an English major. Like I could skip any other elective. I could skip any other science I wanted to skip.
But not that one.
But not that one. Yeah, that one was like, you get this or you don't graduate. That's the deal breaker.
How bad do you want this degree?
So you were a part of my first Bible study that I did with Ramsey Kaiser Angelo State.
Uh-huh.
First one that I led. I've done, some devos and filled in if ministers needed someone to speak. But I've never had done like a series, like a 16-week, I think it was 8-week Bible study.
Yeah, I think so.
Until then. And
that's cool.
You were that first group that was in there. I'm glad you had no idea. That was my first one. I'm glad you couldn't tell.
Yeah, no, I couldn't tell. I was like, you've been here a while. Like,
and that was way before y'all were.
I had known
everything.
Baxter because I was doing pre-med through this. So my minor was biology. Mm-hmm. And I only chose that as my minor because I was like, I'll have an English major and be pre-med. Like that makes you stand out against all the biology majors and all the chemistry majors. So I knew Baxter really well.
Justin.
Yeah,
in the
Justin.
Hayes family.
Yes. And I knew Lauren because Lauren and I had grown up together here in San Angelo.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, I mean, we weren't like on top of each other all the time, but she had come to my church growing up because sometimes Meadows. So
God's church.
Interact. Yes, God's church.
I'm kidding.
Whatever. We had interacted and done some like VBS together, I think maybe, or camps and stuff. So kind of knew her through that. And when we got to college, we were like, hi, familiar face. Okay, connection.
Yeah.
Got to know and love Lori super fast.
We all did.
Yeah, clicked really well. So yeah, just a whole lot of connections with the CCC that all through college I didn't even realize that I had.
You just left out an entire like main person that also contributed to us being together.
I'm sorry?
Anaya.
Oh, no, I wasn't
future
skipping
guest
Anaya.
of the podcast. Anaya.
Yes, Anaya will be in the future with her husband.
No, I wasn't leaving her out. I was just like, she was newer to me.
She tasted me once.
Like,
what?
Wait, what?
I'll tell you all later.
Okay, we're coming back to that. But yeah, no, I had known Justin for years. I had known Lauren for years. I knew Baxter for years. At that point when I walked in.
Yeah.
Anaya was new. Lori was new. You were new. Newer than I'd even realized.
New to you.
Yes, new to me. Yeah, new to me. I was like...
He's like, I run this joint.
Yeah.
Well, I thought I'd been there for a little bit. Yeah. But I couldn't remember.
No, you weren't new to the CCC. You were just new to me.
Gotcha.
But I'd known of the CCC. I'd even gone in there before the new building was built. Like I'd been in the old building with Baxter once or twice. And there were a couple of students that were in English classes with me, and I forget their name now. Troy, I think? Was it?
Troy Wade.
Yes, Troy Wade. Yeah, he and I had a bunch of English classes together, so we were really close. And then Ty Masters, and I don't know if he ever came in there or like frequented the CCC, but
I'm not sure.
Yeah, so I knew I had my little circles, and then I didn't realize a bunch of my circles were actually at the CCC, like intermittently and or regularly. I don't know which, but yeah, I finally showed up, and all my friends were like, "Hi, we're actually here," and I was like, "What? You've never told me you come here. Like, you never invited. What is wrong with you?" Anyway, so
that's funny you bring it up because the Bible study we were just talking about, the first one that we kind of met at was called Circle Maker.
Oh.
And it's funny you bring up that all your circles.
Yeah, that's right.
And the Venn diagram of all your friends.
This
Christian Campus Center, the CCC, was right there in the middle of it all.
Seriously.
And you had no idea.
Time. Yeah,
That's cool.
I was clueless. So 3 years worth of building relationships, and then I get there and I'm like, oh, we're already here. Cool. All right. This is fun. But yeah, we get there, walk through the door. I'm like nervous meeting a bunch of people that are new to me. And we all sit down. I'm sitting across the way next to Anaya. I remember that. And you two are sitting close to each other across the way over there.
Yeah.
And we did an icebreaker of if you could have any superpower, what would it be? And
I changed my answer. Whatever I said, I want to take it back. Do you remember any of the answers?
I remember his answer was spaghetti noodles.
Yeah, to shoot
Out of your
spaghetti
fingers.
noodles
Out
out
of
of
your
my
fingers,
fingertips.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then I remember my answer, something that y'all had said just kind of made me like think about it. And I was like, I want the ability to know like the thoughts going on inside of other people's heads, or like it was either that or like to implant music in another person's mind or
That's
something
great.
like that. But y'all like completely took it and ran with it and turned it into something else.
good.
Like everybody else, we kind of went down the line, and then it got to mine, and like y'all were like going off on it of like you could just look at somebody and hear their thoughts, so that way you're not hearing all the world's thoughts. You
Yeah.
can direct.
You got to put some parameters.
yeah. So those were the parameters, and I was like, that's the superpower I would have, like not just read the whole world's minds, but specifically like as you want to know, just kind of be like, what are we thinking?
Would you have some FOMO? If you were reading my mind, you wouldn't be reading Lynn's, and so you might miss out on something.
Right. So potentially, yeah.
Better if someone knew you had the power, they would just think of elevator music at that time.
true.
Like, she's looking at me.
You want a sound effect now?
But yeah, no. Then for the rest of the Devo or the Bible study, like I wish I could say I remember specifically what we were talking about.
I don't
what all
remember
was
either.
covered. Yeah, no. It's been slept since then, had a kid since then,
Yeah.
the things. But I do remember throughout the rest of the Bible study, we kept interacting, and it was like great interactions.
Yeah.
Loved it. Was so stoked to be there and excited to come back to the next one. But the whole time while we were talking, I kept kind of looking over, and he kept like saying things that I found funny, or the whole group found funny. Like he was just kind of
What,
goofing off,
me?
having a good time. Yeah.
No.
But every time that he would say something, like instead of just looking around the group or even looking at you, his eyes would dart over this way to see like, did I laugh at it or
Yeah.
not?
I was like,
and
she's pretty. Hopefully she laughs.
Yeah.
and I don't know if I had brought my. I don't think I
You were-
brought the
you were
crochet.
crocheting.
Did
Yes,
I
you
bring
were.
it the first
So
time?
Sitting
you
on the-
weren't
yep.
you weren't oblivious.
No, I wasn't oblivious. I
She
wish
was
I could say I
oblivious.
was, but
Usually-
I was kind of like, I think that he's interested, but at the same time, I was like, you know what?
I was
We'll
like,
just
who
let
is
this
that?
we'll just let this play
Yeah.
out. Like I kind of like gave appropriate space, because I was like, sometimes there's those moments where like somebody acts interested and then they're
Yep.
not. So I was just like, we'll
being
just see what
friendly.
happens.
I always think that's such an interesting dynamic, because guys stereotypically are pretty clueless or just oblivious to whatever signs the interested
be
partner
there.
might be giving. But the guy is usually responsible for making the first move.
Right.
And so the
Which-
girl whom isn't oblivious is like, well, I know he likes me, but now I just have to kind of sit in that until
Yeah.
he decides to make a
Well,
move.
and even then that night, I was literally like, I went back to my car after, and I remember sitting there for a second, and I was like, I thought we just had a conversation about this.
Right.
Like
It was the same night?
Yeah, the same
great.
night. I was like, I thought we just had a conversation about this. Like, I'm not here for this specifically. So I kind of like gave a pause for myself of like, don't just dive into this thinking what I'm thinking. I was like, if it's gonna work out, it's gonna be God's way or the highway. So I was like, I'm leaving this up to you. I'm just
You
gonna
said, God, I'm not looking for a guy, and
Yeah.
he sent you a man.
exactly.
So essentially, getting back to like you inviting me to the CCC, her coming into the CCC, me finally going to the CCC.
Yeah.
Like that all contributed to us now being married and having Lily.
Well, y'all
and
went on. I think this is probably important.
I'm
Do we
s-
consider
I'm
this your
s-
first date? I have
yeah.
no idea. But we went on a
Essentially.
retreat
Yeah,
Yes.
we went on a
to
retreat
one of the church members
that I almost didn't go
homes.
to. It's
I
right down the
almost
road
didn't.
from here.
It's right down the road.
Lori
Yeah.
didn't text me until the day of at like noon,
So I
so
can-
I would almost missed it.
That's the totally opposite story of Lynn, because you found out last minute and you were son go ho. I think I
Yeah.
told him like 3 months in
Yeah.
advance. Probably
Oh,
not that long.
I
3
didn't-
weeks in advance.
I didn't even
And he
have the
was-
right clothes with me. I just went with what clothes I had in my
great.
car, and I was like
And he was
freezing.
he was all in. I mean, you know him. He was all in, and then something came up, and then he was all in again, And then he thought, I don't know, like I'm not a college student.
Yeah, I'm like,
This
I don't
isn't
even
my
go to
place.
school here. I'm like,
And then he was all in. And so it was
Yeah.
kind of a back and forth if he was going to be there. And finally, probably the same time you got the text,
Probably.
it was the last decision that we made if he was going to come. And he came to the retreat. That's like 2 miles from here. That's so
Yeah.
crazy.
Yes.
And now y'all live
2 miles from where we had the
where y'all
Went to
kind
our
of
first-
connected.
Yeah.
And
That is crazy.
infamous-
I hadn't actually thought about
the
that.
and you
infamous,
went on a kayak, right?
the infamous
I was on a
Jerica
kayak.
tent.
You were on a kayak, and we had a paddle boat with a motor.
Yeah.
And
it
he
was
didn't
Oh,
know
like
how
a
to work.
John, like a John boat.
Yeah,
No.
and he didn't know how to
Like a
work the
flat.
motor,
No,
so
I didn't.
took over the motor.
Yeah, so like the scene of Kiss the Girl, you know, where the prince is, he's the one doing all
Yeah.
of the stuff. No, the roles were reversed because
Yeah.
I'm sitting there like a little child, just like I don't want to mess somebody's thing up and have to pay for it when I'm
For
already
sure.
poor.
For sure.
And I'd
Yeah.
worked a boat motor before, so I was like, nah, I got this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we just hopped
And so
in.
you're like,
went-
can you bait this hook for me? Can you cast it and I'll reel it back in?
So, and you kind of missed this part, although I'm sure you're aware of it now, but we actually had stayed up that whole night
whole
until
night.
6 a.m.
Y'all
Me,
did tell me.
him, Anaya, and
Jaden.
No,
No,
not
not
Jaden.
Jaden.
Tyler. Boaz.
Tyler. Boaz, that's right.
Love him.
All 4 of us stayed up talking the whole night through, and yeah, that's where we got the funny
I
first,
slept on the
first date
floating bed.
question.
Yeah,
I slept on the floating bed outside.
yeah,
Oh.
that's right.
And then I remember waking up and y'all already beat me awake. And I was like, I'll be honest, I thought I was going to be the first one up.
Yeah,
And you were like, congrats, you are. Because
Yeah.
we haven't gone to bed
yeah.
yet.
I haven't got to sleep
It's
at
even
all.
more impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
No, so the infamous freaking boat ride, I guess is what we're gonna call this. So we go down to the dam, we get out, and we're exploring, and I tell her like I like her, I'd like to get to know her and all this, and she's like, yeah, and you were there.
Well,
and,
I wasn't third wheeling.
No, you
No,
Y'all went down.
you were
and
leading.
I was kayaking, I think, still at the
Yeah.
time. Or maybe I
Yeah.
went back up. And I remember coming right to the dam. And I was like, I'm going to go head back with the group because they were throwing a boomerang or something.
Yeah.
And I knew how
Yeah.
to throw a boomerang, but no one else did. So I was going back to teach him how to throw a boomerang. And I remember getting from Lynn, for our viewers out there, you're not going to be able to hear this, but if
Yeah.
you're on the video, you'll be able to see it because Lynn, like, kind of lip says it to me. How would that go?
Yeah.
However you would say that. And he's like, I think she likes me. he was saying, I
That's
think she
cute.
likes me. Or maybe he said, I think I like her or something like that. But it was obvious that y'all were growing closer. And not a surprise that y'all are here now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it, like 4 years later now?
No,
From that point, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, essentially. Well, almost. It'll be 4 years in what? August?
Okay,
September?
miss.
I don't think-
Exact
I think
time frame. Essentially 4
We're,
years.
we're
ago.
building into the
it was
fourth year.
actually October 3rd.
Okay,
of
there you go.
There you go.
2021.
Okay, so for
October
those that
3rd.
don't know, Jyles is, I referred to him to all the people that I ever talked to him about. He is the walking, talking human encyclopedia for dates, as well as like just random times of things that happen. Like if you ever need to be like, oh, I forget when this happened, just be like, hey, it was on a Thursday in 2003. And you're like, what date is that?
A Thursday on 2003?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait,
Well,
which?
Or
There's-
no.
There's
I'm
a
sorry.
lot of Thursdays
Yeah,
in
that's
2003.
touche. No,
I would
like,
guess there's roughly 52 of them.
roughly.
But it's against
Roughly.
my will. I don't know which days I'm going to remember
That
and
is
which ones I
true.
don't.
That's fair.
There was a landmark moment in my life that happened right before that.
you were struck by lightning
Twice.
and gained superpowers.
Oh, no.
But the kite made it. The kite that I was flying, astonishingly unharmed.
Yeah.
No, and so I just remember that weekend was kind of a landmark moment
Yeah.
in my life. And it was kind of
Yeah.
distraught. And it was not a great time. But now looking back on it,
Yeah.
that weekend is a blessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a lot going on like that.
Well,
I do remember
I
some
remember, so from an outsider's perspective, because y'all were a little more insiders with what
Right.
happened that weekend than I was. From an outsider's perspective, we went on this great retreat and everything was good. And then the minute we get back, like the first time we all came back together as a group, after coming back, it was just
of that. Dark
180,
cloud.
like
Yeah.
complete opposite. Like
Yeah.
just, yeah.
Well, it
major,
actually it happened right before the retreat, and so
did.
like the retreat was kind of already tainted, and then we went into
there was
showing
a
up.
little like awkwardness.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, but it was hard from an outsider's perspective to
Yeah.
really like grasp it until we got back and we were all in the CCC, and it was just like that's where it stuck out the most. I was like, huh,
Yeah.
what?
It felt like this is a very niche example. It felt like you're going through a divorce, like you're the kid in the divorce.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But then right before you go to court, they like take you to McDonald's. That's
Yes.
how that retreat felt. It was the McDonald's.
Remember,
and then
there's
we had to
plenty
go
more
to
McDonald's
court.
if you stay with
Exactly.
me.
Yeah.
That was it.
So, no, if I told you I was born March 9th, 1995.
Well, I can't have a good memory of 1995.
Dude, no, I'm not saying a memory. I'm
I
saying
was
you know
born
what
in
day it is.
2000.
I'm saying you typically know what day it is, right?
Well, yes, that is a mouth. I claim that it's because of good memory.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the pulling of the leg moments that I do on my students.
Yeah.
Right now they're all born in around 2011, 2012. And I tell them that I have this wicked memory that I can tell them what day they're born on. And really, I just know
You
this.
just pull up their thing.
No. I
Their
just
profile.
I have this algorithm memorized in my head, a mathematical algorithm that'll tell me what day, if you ask, March 9th of a certain year, then I can tell you that was a Monday, or that was a Thursday, or that was a Saturday.
On a Thursday.
There you go.
That's so weird that you just.
That's neat.
I had a 1 in 7.
Yeah.
I had
that is very true too.
I had a
That's very true.
14% chance of getting that right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
you're a
chances are
freak
pretty
with
good.
percentages too. I've noticed that.
Well, I mean, I guess it's clear as to why you're a math teacher.
Yeah.
You
I
do
love
really
it.
well with
My
it.
degree isn't in math. It's actually a 4th grade through 8th grade generalist.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Any
nice.
subject between 4th and 8th grade.
Yeah.
But math is kind of my thing.
You shine.
No, I do not shine.
He speaks numbers, people.
Speaking numbers.
So,
Better
and
than
here's
speaking
another
tongues.
crazy fact that I've learned about Jyles, and I still brag about. I'm just gonna go straight into it. Who was on the '92 Chicago Bulls?
Well, that's an easy one. They won the championship that year. So
Oh yeah, that's
Nice.
true.
you
That's
got like
true.
Horace Grant, and you got Pippen, and you got MJ, of course. Kerr wasn't there yet. He came in the later 90s, I believe. Steve Kerr, the coach for the Bulls.
yeah.
But I can give you a fun fact about Horace Grant.
Yeah.
He was, you know him?
Mm-hmm.
He was the big guy, and he wore goggles.
Yes.
And he was one of the first to kind of pioneer. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar did it, but he kind of pioneered like the wearing of goggles.
Yeah. I protect him during games.
Yeah, and because he had terrible eyesight, and he got, I don't know if it was LASIK, but he got his eyes fixed, and so he didn't need the goggles anymore. But he still wore them for the rest of his career because of the vast amount of parents and grandparents that came up to him and said that my kid will wear goggles now because you wear them.
Wow.
And because he
wow.
was such an inspiration to like little league basketball teams all over the nation, and let's even say the world, the kids are more okay with now wearing their goggles because of him.
That's
and so he would take out the prescription lenses in his goggles, and he just put in clear plastic.
Wow.
And so he had his eyes fixed, and he just wore that just for the kids.
Oh.
And
that's
that wasn't revealed until after he retired. So he obviously did not do it for publicity at all.
Imagine a parent walking up to Tom Brady. My kid will now deflate balls because of you. So thank you. They'll win every championship game.
Actually, is it bad that I can imagine there's a lot of caring culture out there that actually might
For sure.
consider it and be like, this is a way to.
My kid's a crybaby because Patrick Mahomes is a crybaby.
Oh.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so there's
no,
been
that's
so
awesome.
much. I moved here, of course, met my beautiful wife here.
You moved here for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
You
Yeah.
came to stay with me no, it was a little longer. It was about 3 or 4 weeks, and that turned into 11 months.
What's it?
We established, you asked for the
2 weeks to figure
the
out.
favor was just a few weeks to figure it out. And I was like, absolutely. Like, come on in. I got a couch that we'll put in, and that couch.
You got rid of
turned
your
to
coffee table or your
the
your
dining
dinner table for me. Yeah.
I ate in my truck and in my bedroom for 2 years.
Yeah.
It was worth it. But we got rid of.
It's because the
we got a
dishes weren't
futon.
clean, everybody. I'll be the first to.
Gosh,
I'll
don't even get us started
If
on
I
the
had known where the
dishes.
soap was, I would have gladly.
The
he had to get
it was
fast
under
food
the
a lot.
it was under the sink.
Oh, of course.
The dishes situation, the dishes lived in the sink instead of in the cabinets, and so this was this is really just me spilling my guts now.
Go for it.
This
Just
is this me
venting it
bringing
all out there. Yeah.
someone's dirty laundry.
Yeah.
By all
What would
means.
happen? And I was not perfect at it. Neither was Lynn and Marvin. But the dishes would get dirty and they would go into the sink, which is a lot better than them just sitting
Yeah.
on the floor by the bed or wherever it went. So I'm very, very
At least they were
glad
in
that they-
a proper
Or on the
place.
end table.
they went to the sink 99% of the time, which is great.
Yeah.
They would be dirty. And then we would use all of the clean dishes until all of them were dirty. And then what we would do was,
Draw straws.
no, when we needed a clean dish, we would grab one from the sink, wash it, immediately eat off of it,
Put it
And
and then
put it-
put the dirty one back into the sink. And so how many
suddenly
times did we
This
wash it?
explains a lot.
Yes.
Anyway.
So how many times did we need to wash it before we used it again? Just one time. So my theory was, let's do the washing on the back end instead of on the front end. So let's use it, immediately wash it, and then
Yeah.
put it on the counter. I'll even put all of them up from the counter to the cabinet.
Mm-hmm.
And that way the dishes live cleanly in the cabinets
cabinet.
rather than dirty
Yeah.
in the
In
sink.
the sink.
Yeah.
With the same
And that way you
amount
have
of
a sink
washes.
to like wash your hands when somebody
And
else
we made
is-
another rule. Do you remember this one? We had a microwave rule.
Oh.
Oh.
Anytime the microwave was turned on, we cleaned. And that was the only, because it's pretty small. It
Yeah.
doesn't take long to clean. So the only time we would clean is when the microwave was running.
Oh.
And you will be shocked with how much you can clean in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Actually, in an
shocked.
RV, I believe it. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can get a lot done. Just
Ah.
a lot kind of stored away. Like we wouldn't sweep or mop or vacuum or, get off
Yeah.
the Clorox
Lysol.
wipes
Yeah.
or anything. But
Vacuum
we
the
would just
ceiling.
like tidy up
Yeah.
for
Organized.
30 seconds. And yeah, it worked great.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah,
And you
we-
did it. You were a good roommate. You honored that.
Yeah,
those
'cause
wishes pretty good.
Yeah,
I
mean,
was your
saw it as
landlord, but
I saw it as a time to do it and knock it out. Which I mean,
Although I will say, I know a lot of the time if he was eating with me. And so we had like food wrappers in my car and we'd pick it up and throw it away.
Yeah.
There was that for a while, not all the time. But
well, not only that, but like there were times where if I did eat something, it was primarily like the Nutty Butter cups that he got, or
Yeah.
like all the
oh my God.
body
body
armors.
armors.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I remember him like strategically avoiding adding to dishes at
Yeah.
one point.
For sure.
Like
yeah.
it wasn't
I think he
something
saw
that
it
like
as a
I was there to
frustration.
witness. It was more like just it came up
Well,
randomly
not
in
only that,
conversation.
but
He
at
was
the
like,
time it was such a pessimistic mindset of me. But I was like, these are Marvin's dishes, or these are even that dish is
Yeah.
Gyles's dish. I'm not using dishes.
Yeah.
So and then like the one time I'd add to it, and then instead of just taking it upon myself to wash everything, I just
You washed yours.
I just
Yeah.
I just added to it. I'm notorious, and Kathleen gets on to me for this too. I rinse it in water and I let the water sit in it, so it helps like break down everything.
Sure.
But I just leave it instead of coming back and
Back
actually
to it.
finishing the job. So then she's like, "Why is there a bowl full of, or why is there a cup full of water?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh, because it's breaking down stuff." And she's like, "That was like 4 hours ago." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "All right, yeah,
It's
yeah,
got to
you're
be
right."
hot water.
Yeah, yeah.
well, that's best case scenario, 4 hours.
4
ago.
hours.
But in our job, and to be fair, I'm guilty of this as well. In our job, there are days where we eat something and I'm like, you know what, a rinsed out dish is more fun for the next person to clean than
For
to
sure.
have the gunk sit on it and or mold in the sink, and then you're having to
Yeah.
do the gross like.
You know, the good part is we never had mold in our sink.
So-
That is very
Even though
true.
the stuff that would sit there for the amount of time that it would take. This is just disgusting. I'm so sorry to everybody.
Had the lowest point of my
For most-
life,
but
doing
we
laundry
always
in the sink.
we always ate all of our food, and so
Yeah.
we never had
Yeah.
to
That's
worry
true.
about it really stinking up the place. I
That's
do
good.
remember you doing laundry in
Yeah.
a sink. We didn't have a washer
Yeah.
machine.
Yeah.
It went out, but our dryer was good, and so we could dry our clothes but not
Yeah.
wash them. Which, if you're gonna only have one,
You
you want the washer.
washer, yeah.
Well,
No, you
because you
want the
can hang
washer.
dry your clothes.
Air dry everything. You
But in-
can't air
but when in
wash.
Texas, where y'all were living, like you could hang dry your clothes, but the wind would pick up and all that dust would just.
Well, we were
Well,
just
all
thinking
they would
you
see
could
is
just put it in the
boxers getting
shower.
bigger,
Well, yeah, that's true.
That's good.
just on the line,
Yeah, yeah.
small, large, double XL.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you would have like Hanes and then you have Fruit of the Loom, and then you have Looney Tunes.
Yeah, he was a
The
big,
theme would not have
or
made
Rugrats.
sense. Yeah, or Rugrats. Yeah. Shout out to Marvin.
Shout out Marvin. We should get him on the podcast
We
sometime.
should. Yeah.
should.
He's,
I
we
would
need to get
definitely
him.
come back.
Yeah.
And we can set up a fourth mic.
Yeah, we could
Yeah.
do 3 dudes chilling in an RV.
Yes.
6 feet apart. Because we're in COVID.
Yeah,
That's
because we're in COVID. That's why.
That's
So
Right.
then we get back to like, so you graduated, obviously, and now you're teaching.
Yeah.
We skipped around a little bit, but like you were so involved in the CCC up there until the end of your like. You're still involved actually today. Don't you have something planned?
I'm going to, before I started this youth ministry job, they asked me to come speak at a retreat that they're doing this weekend. And so I'm still honoring that, but I have to leave at a Saturday night.
Yeah.
I had to leave early to be back Sunday morning for worship. So, I'm speaking at one of the retreats this weekend.
Look at you, man
That's
of many
awesome.
hats.
Man of many hats.
But that is, I mean, we've known you for so long, and I want you to know this, and this is something that I've kind of talked about is like, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have met her. If it wasn't for you, I probably wouldn't have kept my sanity in the situation I was in. You are a phenomenal person to have in our lives, and I appreciate you so much. I love you dearly. I know we don't say I love you in our friend group, but I do. We say 3,000 because of the Iron Man thing. No, if anything,
Give yourself some credit here. Like, people can introduce people all the time. You got to put in the work to make this work.
That's true.
And
we've done so much together, and this is like for a whole nother episode. Of everything we've done. I mean, we've lost my Apple Watch.
Yeah, that was the
Park.
same jump
Just one?
that my shoe got stuck. You remember that? I don't know how I did that. But
We've jumped off of Inks Lake together, all 3 of us. Caden, shout out to Caden. We've jumped out of airplanes again with Caden and your dad.
Yeah.
We've gone exploring.
With your knees that you got, we do a lot of jumping.
Yeah, we do. I mean, my ankles are under so much pressure these days. So no, I mean, but I want you to know.
I'm glad you got a sit down podcast.
Oh yeah,
This is
absolutely. If it was a standing one, it'd only be 3
podcast.
minutes long.
You couldn't be a stand up comedian.
Yeah, no,
I don't think you
I'd be a sitting
You don't got the
comedian.
legs. You don't got the legs for it.
Right.
No, I appreciate you, man, more than you know. Like I owe it because there was a time I do know, like at the RV, that I had just kind of given up. I'd given up on myself. I'd given up on God. I'd given up on like any motivation I had. I think I was under more pressure that I put on myself because there was the idea of being successful, but there was no definition of what successful was for me.
You came up with a good one. And whether you believed it or not, I remember it, and you probably will too. You said success is having $1 more
Oh yeah, in my bank account than my bills.
than your bills.
Yeah.
At least you said, I want to break even, but just give me one spare one.
Yeah, I just wanted all my bills to be paid, and I think I was at a point in life where I didn't feel like that was
For sure.
I didn't have a job when I moved here.
And you can redefine that as you go through your career.
Oh yeah,
But to think success is $1 million paycheck
yeah, no,
is so far.
Painful.
Well, it is painful.
it's
Right.
setting you up for failure because it's an unrealistic expectation,
and you
that
can
you're
get
gonna
there.
achieve
And
that.
we're not saying that you'll never be any of that kind of stuff. But if you just think of where you're at the moment, and you're pulling from what little retirement you have set up in your mid 20s, and you're pawning things off, and you go, man, for me to be successful, I got to have that.
Yeah.
You're going to lose hope.
Oh, absolutely.
And so redefining what that success was for you, what I think is probably a lot of people can take from that, and it's pretty transforming.
I appreciate it. I mean, it was a huge 180 because I mean, from having and what was tough about leaving Cove it was more of leaving the friends that I had.
Yeah.
It was leaving the coworkers that I had, the support system that I had. There was just so much change all in that one time period. And it was a little overwhelming. I mean, not even a little. It was very overwhelming. But it was, I'm getting to spend every day now going forward with my best friend.
Yeah.
And even though there was times where, like, I look back now and I'm like, dang, like we were dating at this time. So we were out all the time. We were, hanging out all the time. But I should have taken you up on more of going and hanging out and doing things because now it's like we only get
I think
together.
I did tell you you'll be married the rest of your life.
Yeah.
We won't live in the same trailer together
that is-
forever.
and rent will never be
Rent will
as
never be
cheap as it
cheaper.
is. Yeah.
$165 a person.
Jokes on you, our
That's
rent
true.
is free.
true. Maybe that just applied to me.
Well,
no.
but he's also
It comes out of your
he's
paycheck.
It
also
comes
now
out
seeing the
at a
con
cost.
side of
Yeah.
like we get paid to live here, but
Yeah.
part of being paid to live here is even on our off days we have fire
Yeah.
alarm checks.
Yeah,
For sure.
It's
Just, yeah.
As we did
In
at
the
the
middle
beginning
of
of this
it.
podcast.
Yeah.
Or hey, we're replacing your stove and we don't even use it. But yeah.
And it's
No,
all
but
good.
I think one of the things that I really like for you is I'm extremely happy you're getting to work with youth. I think that you have a heart for it. You do such a phenomenal job in not only relating to adults what a godly man looks like, but I think as far as like you are everyone's big brother. And I mean it's the
Thank
truth. You look at how many campers rave about you at camp. You look at how many people that we know that have such positive things to say about you. And you don't do it for any of that. You do it because you have a heart for God. You have one of the most wholesome hearts, dude, and that I've ever met. You are the most wholesome person I've ever met in my life. And I told Kathleen this, and I think I've told you this, but like I mean it when I say like if Lily ever came to me and was, wanting to talk about God, I don't have all the answers. And I'm not saying Kathleen doesn't have all the answers, and I'm also not saying that you don't have all the answers, but I would feel 100% confident in sending her your direction. I hope that if I could be a fraction of what you are to the youth that you work with and to the adults that you also are friends with and know, I'd want that for our daughters. Like most dads are like, oh, I hope they're like me, or oh, I hope they're like their mom. And I do in some traits hope that our girls pick that up. Yeah. But I know without a fact or without a shadow of a doubt, I want our girls to have a heart for God like you do. Like you have.
Well, that's very honoring. I obviously don't have all the answers either.
Right.
But I was so honored when you asked me to be Lily's godfather.
Yeah.
I lost that when me and Caden lost. We bet it on a game of rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah.
And man, I should have picked a different
game.
You
had a 33 and a 30% chance.
I should have challenged him to a foot race is what I should have done. But yeah, so I guess he's the godfather now. But we can co-parent that one.
I mean, this may break Caden's heart. There's no clear, like, it's going to be one of the other. It's going to be whichever one of you decides to take her. If God forbid,
if it was my daughter, I would want her a little closer to family.
Well, her and Emily.
He lives in New York City.
Not gonna lie.
So
yeah, that is true. That is very true.
I would feel more comfortable having her so close to your parents and your parents as well, Kathleen. So,
so in kind of closing, like, how is it? I think one of the things I wanted to touch on was like, what do you feel is the biggest struggle having to separate those two worlds of public education and being a youth minister?
I feel
it's
like
hard because you want to pray for kids. You want to be able to talk to kids about a loving God, an unconditional love.
Yeah.
When you know they're struggling, but as your students in public education, like that's very limited.
You definitely can't do that.
Yeah.
I'm just getting paid by the church. I've been a youth minister.
Yeah.
For a while. At least I've considered myself that. I'm not just getting paid by the church. I'm getting paid by the school.
Yeah.
But I'm saying the only difference that has been made is now I get paid to do it.
Yeah.
And so I felt like I've been ministering, and even last year, in my first year of teaching, youth ministry wasn't an opportunity that I've had yet. And I had a handful of students throughout the year ask me why I'm not one. And I said, well, they get to see you twice a week.
Yeah.
Sundays and Wednesdays. And I get to see you 5 times. And so, I got to teach you math, but I hope it's a little more than that. And it's tough. You kind of try to slide in your faith. You post some scriptures around the room, and you're not forcing it upon the kids. They're in their families. They're making the decisions, of course, but that's who I am. And so I decorate my classroom with the reminders that I need to have around the room. And so I have some scriptures, and on the birthday chart that we have that the kids can fill out, it says like made in the image.
Oh, that's cool.
And stuff like
that's
that.
Really
and so, neat. They're fully aware that I'm a youth minister too. A couple of my students go to church there, and it gets around, and you kind of want it to.
Yeah.
You want to be known by that. You don't necessarily want it to be known by other things, right?
Right.
Yeah,
and
that's
so,
true.
I had the opportunity, I've had the opportunity to baptize 3 or 4 of my previous students. Not that many, sorry. Like two, I think, of my previous students.
That's still
And
awesome, dude.
The
Yeah,
joy
that's
that
really
you
awesome.
feel is, I can't explain it. It's astronomical. And, you know, credit to the youth minister, whether they went to the same congregation I did or not. A lot of credit goes to that person, for the kid to making the decision, to the youth minister, to their family. It's definitely not all of my doing, but to be the one that was asked to actually do what Paul describes as a reenactment of the resurrection, the burial, and then raising out of the water, reenactment of the resurrection. It's honoring for sure. And in the moment of silence, you can bow your head and you can close your eyes, and they can see that you're praying at the time. You can't do it out loud, and you can't do it with a kid or for a kid.
Right.
But they can't. The school can't. The state can't stop you from saying a prayer during the day.
Right.
And so you find these habits. You find. I sit in my truck while the buses are unloading, and you know, you just see all the kids come out, and it's a great time right at the start of the day to kind of pray over each person that's coming out of the bus. And that's kind of the story of education, is kids that are loved at home come to school to learn, and kids that aren't come to school to be loved. And there's a lot of loving that needs to be done.
Yeah.
And you put on your best face, and it's crazy the things that you remember. That it wasn't a big deal to you, but it was a big deal to them.
Yeah.
We can all remember this random thing that happened in second grade, right? Or whatever the time frame, all the way back to who even knows, before school even started. And you bring it up to your mom or dad, and they're like, I have no recollection of that toy that you had or whatever. But it was a big deal to you. And you didn't realize it was until years later. You're like, yeah, that's not just something I remember. That's something that's kind of a part of me now. And I remember a few things that my teachers said. And so I always try to make sure I'm doing the right thing, saying the right thing, so that when these kids are 23, they look back at their sixth grade teachers and they go, oh, I don't remember how to divide fractions, but I remember that thing. I remember that Thursday before Christmas break or whatever it might be.
Well, I'm telling you, man, I think it's amazing. When you called me and told me, you know, that you were talking about becoming a youth minister through the church, like I was super ecstatic for you. And now to see that that's a direction.
There's some of my favorite human. I love like mid-sized people are great.
Yes.
I mean,
they're very fun.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. Like, I think one of the things that for you is like, you look at how we love Jason and Jason, Austin, Joel, you know, all Cody Chumley, all of them. Like, you're gonna be
Cody Rex.
Well, you're gonna be for some of those kids that person.
Yeah,
and I think that's, you know, there's no greater impact you can have than showing children Christ and bringing them to Christ. Yeah, and because you're not only saving them, but you're saving future generations to come. Yeah, and I think that, you know,
you always said it as. Was it a nugget or a stone?
A stone.
That you would use. A stone. I don't know why I thought nugget for a second.
It's all right.
But I was probably thinking a nugget of wisdom or a nugget of gratitude or something like that. But elaborate on that. The stone.
So there's two different things that I use when I'm talking to our kids, especially at camp. I'll pick up a stone and I'll tell them, you know, they come to camp and they're talking about struggles that they went through for the past year. They're talking about things that they're having a hard time getting through, and then they come and they confide in one of us as the counselors, and they talk to us and they elaborate, and we help them with, you know, tell them pray about it. We help them scripture. We help them with devotions. We help them with sermons like yours, and we tell them, like, these are things that now that you've lived it and now that you've gotten through it, you have a roadway, you have a pathway that you're walking. And so what you need to do is you take that stone from this moment and you place it in the ground to continue for you to be able to move forward. Yeah. That's the foundation that you're walking on. And then when you encounter somebody in your life that is going through something that you've gone through, instead of just saying, hey, I know how you feel, or hey, I've been there, I've done that. No, you go back, retrieve that stone and pull it from your path because you no longer need it, and you pay it forward. Yeah. And that's giving them the stone to move forward. Yeah, it's an analogy that I like to use with some of the kids, because I hope that, again, they don't just hold on to what they got through that moment with, and they use it and pay it forward.
That's such a big, I guess every part of life, especially adolescence, is transforming, and you're developing your character, and you're developing who you're going to be. I think statistics say like the years that are most transformative are right out of high school and at like 3 to 4 years old, which developmentally makes sense.
Right.
But I think there's a fair bit that goes on in between those. There's a whole lot that goes on in between those.
Quite a bit.
And I get to experience on a daily basis. I think something happens from 11 to 12 years old, and they're actually starting to become a person.
Mm-hmm.
They're not a Roblox character, right?
Yes.
They're not an NPC. They're not that anymore.
Have you seen Leo on Netflix yet?
I've not.
Oh my gosh.
To.
Yeah.
It's
What you're
I don't
talking
have
about.
any streaming services.
He
so.
just,
Really?
He just
No,
like
just
brought an
DVDs.
image to my head from that movie of they're not Roblox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a scene in that movie where the kindergartners are all just.
It's called Leo.
Yes,
Leo.
it's called Leo.
It's an
really
Adam
good.
Sandler movie where he voices a lizard.
Oh, but it's so great.
In the classroom.
But it's the difference between fifth graders in elementary school and kindergartners. But even so, 11, 12, that's right there. That's the year after they've just left fifth grade. They've gone through that summer, and now their whole world is starting all over anew.
Yeah.
And definitely catching on to what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, on top of
the
that,
first day of school, you might ask them like, "Hey, what's up?" And they're, you know what they say? This guy, the clouds, the ceiling.
I know.
And sarcasm is just a
20-year-olds
part.
will still say that.
Oh, for sure. Sarcasm is just a part of their vernacular at the time.
I used to drive Baxter insane with that.
Yeah. And then you get to the end of school, and even now, and you ask the same kid, "Hey, what's up?" And they go, "Not much. What about you?" And it's like, whoa, like you can,
and you get to see
can
them
have conversations now.
Yeah,
Like, they're
exactly.
trying to connect with you.
Yeah, and you get to see them grow up right in front of you too. That's a crucial, like fifth and sixth grade is where you see them. They'll come in one height and then they'll leave a whole nother.
We just had a kid. I can't say his name, but he was there at the beginning of the school year, transferred to a nearby district, and now he's back. And so he was probably only gone for about 2 months or so. And I swear he grew 2 or 3 inches.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like your dog, right? Like you don't see him grow because you see him every day.
Yeah.
But when you go on vacation and then you come back, you're like,
Yeah.
man, dog, like you just grew a bunch over the.
And physically speaking, from the medical aspect of it, like you're at that juncture where they're losing in adolescence. They don't really have all the things that define this is a little girl, this is a little boy. They're children.
Yeah.
They're innocent, they're adolescent, their bodies are not to the point where they're defining, oh, I'm a female body, oh, I'm a male body. But you're at the juncture where everything's picking up, everything's changing, all the hormones, all the growth,
The peer pressure.
Yeah, peer pressure. So
Yeah.
it's not just their maturation that's happening, even though it is, but that whole physical side of things too, that's kicking in and starting up and booting up, where their bodies are physically becoming, if you're a young man, you're becoming a man. Your body is separating from the adolescent, I'm just a child, and it's growing into, this is who I am, this is who God has formed me to be. And they're becoming more male, female, and separating from just the, what is it? Amorphous
That's what I was going to say.
shapes. Yeah, before. When they're children. Anyway, basically not having the defining features that defines. The boys are starting to get the jawline. The girls are, starting
They start to stink more.
The boys.
Yeah, they start to stink more.
D.O. for the B.O.
Everybody starts to stink more. Even the girls, even though, you
Y'all
guys
just handle it a lot better.
we handle it kind of better because we care, I guess.
Well, I coach girls, and if you ask,
the boys just don't care.
For sure.
And then there's
They're not self-aware.
because they're so active, or a lot of them are so active, it smells worse. Girls just aren't as active because of some of those bodily changes that are happening. They're just not as active all the time. I'm not saying that all of them aren't, but there are some that are super active, but their body odor doesn't kick in the same way that a boy's does. And then when the boys don't care and the girls do, there's a difference.
I think it's more with the clothes than we give it credit.
Yeah.
Because girls, sweat during PE, right, or during athletics,
Exactly.
but they got specific clothes for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
The boys,
They just wear the same.
well, no, they change and they go to athletics and everything, but for their for 5 minutes after lunch before the bell rings, I mean they're playing wall ball,
Yeah.
right? They
Yeah.
got basketball out, or in between classes, like we have 4-minute passing periods, and they'll go outside and play for 3 minutes and then come
Yeah.
back in, and
Yeah.
we've had to shut that down. But they'll sweat in their clothes,
Yeah.
in their
Yes.
school clothes,
Yeah.
and in their athletic clothes, and so it kind of just, and some of them, we all know this kid has a hoodie, wears the same hoodie every day,
Every day.
and then he's sweating and he just stews in that hoodie all the
Yes.
time. And so,
You can
anyways,
imagine
I coach as well.
that hoodie at the end of the week for that poor mother or father.
Yeah. I can't tell that story. But anyways,
There's some
You-
that we just can't go into detail.
if you ask a lot, not even a lot, but if you ask really any girl, college age, older, doesn't matter, a lot of them had miserable junior high age experience, middle school experience, right?
Yeah. Miserable.
And a lot of that is because of what you were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Is because friend groups are changing.
What's
You're-
cool is not affordable by everybody, and so you have financial.
Yeah.
Not everybody
taunting.
matures at the same time too.
For
There's
sure.
that. So you have some 6th graders that are already in the not fully 8th grade mindset, but they're more mature.
Yeah.
And you can tell that they're more mature than their peers and comrades.
Yeah.
But their peers and comrades usually make up the majority of the group that aren't
For
as
sure.
mature yet. And so it kind of drags the social aspect down. And then those little 6th graders are looking up to the big kids like, will any of you be my friend? Because these guys are annoying, ever loving daylights out of me.
And a lot of it is girls are mean to each other, sure, and friendships change and all that.
Yeah.
But there's enough interactions that the good outweighs the bad in a lot of cases.
That's true.
If you talk to those same people we were just talking about, older ladies, a lot of it is like a guy was mean to him.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take much. It's one comment that's kind of shrewd, and they didn't, obviously they're just doing it to just to be a jerk. But I don't know, there's a lot of credit that kind of everybody takes in the whole junior high experience. And I had a great junior high experience. And so I kind of have no idea, but it's so interesting to see a few things. We have a Valentine's dance, and we usually have a Christmas dance every year. And they're fundraisers for the student council. And I'm not a student council rep or anything like that, but I always love going to them. Just because students like seeing you outside of the classroom. I love seeing them outside of the classroom in a setting that's with everybody.
Right.
You can see them at a basketball game, but that's a pretty public event.
Well, it makes them feel supported in something that they invest so much.
And so to see you at a dance to where it's pretty much just them. Of course, there's chaperones, but for the most part, it's just them in a different environment. It's really nice to be on this side of things because you'll see them take what you could imagine as 6th grade dance pictures, not putting their arm around each other, like kind of anything like that. And to recognize you're going to be embarrassed by that picture later is so funny.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. It's a blast. And you try to help them out, like, hey, put your arm around her, or, like at least get in the frame together and
make it look like you're enjoying your.
Yeah. And it's very like guys on this side, girls on that side. And the only time they mingle is on the Cupid Shuffle. Like that's literally the only time they talk to each other.
That is true.
But it's so cool being on this side of that and having your perspective kind of pushed into that situation.
No, it's true. From the time when I had one class of junior high, kind of, but they were all 6th to 8th and different. What are they called? Studies? Whatever. I don't know.
Different preps.
Yes.
Like you were teaching different subjects.
Yes.
Or sorry,
subjects. Thank you.
Not subjects, but same subject, but different grade levels.
Yes, but also different subjects too.
Yeah.
So subjects was the word I was looking for.
Gotcha.
I've been out of teaching for too long. Anyway, but just seeing that little that they're still in a way a child, but at the same time they're blooming out of being and it's just I love what you're saying on being on the other side of it, where you're like, it's going to be awkward for you when you get into college and
For
you
sure.
still have that picture, or when you're
As
graduating
the
high
kids now
school.
call it cringe.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're just seeing them living their cringe moments then, and you're like,
It's a canon moment.
that's coming.
We all need them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all need them.
It's like
It
you
keeps us humble.
almost from the outside, you almost want to whip your phone out and just be like, I'm going to let you know. But at the same time, you don't, because you want them to naturally process and just come to it on their own. There's those, the ones that, I don't know, there's some that they almost like lose their innocence immediately when they get to that point. But then there's the few that keep like an aspect of innocence while they're going through that maturation process and the socialization and all those changes. And you're just like, hold on to that. Don't lose that.
It does help. There's little things that happen that mean the world to them. And so it helps to have somebody that they have a relationship with and you share your embarrassing moments.
Yeah.
And so on picture day, it's a big deal, especially for the ladies. For the girls, picture day is a big deal. And so every year, I've only been teaching for 2 years, so I can't say every year. But for the past 2 years,
2
you can
years
pretty much say every
consecutively.
year.
for 2 consecutive years, on picture day, I show my 6th grade picture.
Oh,
I pull it up and throw it on my Promethean board, and nobody does that.
That's
Nobody
cool.
goes, oh, they'll go, exactly. Oh. I think that was
You
you
were
in
also
6th grade?
disproportionate at that time.
My head was way bigger than than my shoulders were. And so they go, that was you in 6th grade? I said, yeah, very handsome, isn't he? Or, try to be snarky like that.
right.
And it makes them feel a whole lot better. And whether they're a guy and they can relate to like, yeah, my 6th grade picture is also going to look bad. The girls are like, okay, well, at least it's not whatever.
Right.
And I don't know, just show that you're a person. They really appreciate that.
That's true.
So, in closing, real quick, we just want to give you a spotlight, give you a chance. Is there any like nonprofit or any organization that you want to highlight and bring attention
There's
to?
a super local one to y'all. If y'all have definitely heard about it before. Let me pull it up real quick. Rush Street Ministries.
Okay.
Hey, you're never going to guess where it's at.
Where?
It's on Rush Street.
It's on Rush Street.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So it's a community outreach ministry in San Angelo, Texas. They provide helping for like basic life needs for no charge of the community around them. So let me pull up. I saw some stats earlier, and this was a few weeks ago, but the stats were from 2022. Rush Street Ministries assisted the community with 16,027 people served, which is, if you think for most ministries, they don't reach, I forget the percentage, but in a town of San Angelo of 100,000 people, they're reaching 16% of the population in a calendar year. And so now there's obviously going to be some return families that they help, but that means in 10 years, in 8 years, you've helped everybody in San Angelo. You've helped every family. And they have been a mission, or they have been a ministry for well over that. I believe for over 20 years now. And so, if you think about the number of people that they've, astonishing. So 16,000 just in 1 year, 133,000 pounds of food given away.
Oh, wow.
Which I wonder how many truckload, it's kind of incomprehensible to me how many pounds that is. 42,158 articles of clothing, 453 pieces of furniture, and 289 appliances. So stoves, ovens, washer, dryer machines, dishwashers, things of the like, I would guess.
That's awesome.
And yeah, they do great work. They're partnered with Rams for Christ in a way. And so when I was there, of course, this ministry has a special place in my heart. A lot of volunteer hours for my probation. No, just spend a lot of time there.
Was not expecting that.
And you get to know the people, and it's great. One of my favorite stories. Do we got time?
Yeah.
You got time for one more story?
Oh, yeah.
Well, me and Marvin, we're going to Rush Street Ministries they needed help moving some of that furniture and some of those appliances. And I'm not a strong dude, but Marvin is.
Yeah.
And so he's kind of the workhorse, and I'm his ride. And we're going over there, and Rush Street Ministries is right beside Fort Concho Elementary.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're driving there, and over the fence and then across the street, we see a football. And the kids are outside playing. And it looks like upper elementary. Let's guess 4th or 5th grade. And so I'm like, well, obviously, I know where that football came from. And so I park on the road, and it's on the passenger side. So I tell Marvin to hop out, grab that football, and he's going to throw it back. And I roll down my window right before he throws it. And I said, yell jackpot before you throw it. And so he gets the football and yeets it right over the road, over the fence. And he yells jackpot before he does it. Like, he's got every kid on that playground. He's got their attention. And what happens? The ball hits the ground. What do you do in jackpot when no one catches it? You throw it back.
Yeah.
So now Marvin has ensued unintentionally a game of catch with a group of probably at least 20 to 30 4th or 5th grade boys.
Oh gosh.
And we're throwing it back, and we're like, no, keep it. And they're just wanting to keep on playing.
Yeah.
And then we throw it back, and the teacher, thank you, and tells them to hold on to the ball.
Yeah.
And so we unintentionally started and not finished a game of jackpot.
Fort Concho.
Yeah, it's great.
That's awesome.
Oh, well, thank you again, man, for coming out today.
I love it.
We've had a blast.
I hope to be back sometime.
Yeah, absolutely.
We should make this a thing.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Oh, we
and then
agree.
we're gonna turn around and get these out there, and so hopefully people will be able to hear your message, and we'll have more stuff to talk about for sure. This isn't
absolutely.
the end of it. So.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, guys, for listening. My name is Lynn.
I'm Kathleen.
And I'm Jyles.
And we are out of here. Y'all have a good one.